Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, today we continue with our On Being Achievers. So today I'm going to go into detail of being the Khalifah of Allah. As we have mentioned earlier on, that we are here on this earth to be the vicegerent of God on this earth. And I've just extract a few paragraphs from our book, Positive Islamic Psychology, the role of the Khalifah of Allah on this earth. As mentioned earlier, the purpose of God's creation of the physical universe is to place man as his Khalifah or vicegerent on earth and to carry out his responsibilities as his vicegerent. In other words, the whole purpose of the universe is to allow God's vicegerent to exist. Consequently, we can logically deduce that the universe would not have been created if the role of the Khalifah has not been made very important by the grand design, the cosmic design of God. Islamic scholars from the earliest days of Islam has concluded the responsibilities of Khalifah are only three. To be the vicegerent of God is one, to perfect himself, that is to make himself good; to perfect society, that is to help others to be good; and to perfect the physical world of space and time, that is to make the physical world good for all goodly creatures of God. So if we are going to understand God in that sense, Allah tells us that our role as a Khalifah of Allah is to worship Him. So how is this worship is going to be taken in our role? Worship is to be undertaken by mankind, however, not merely as a creature among creatures, but as a vicegerent of God, as a fully integrated being committed to a cosmic mission, a very grand mission as ordained by Allah. Specifically, he has to realize the principle of integration at its highest, because God's personality enshrines the perfect ideal idea of integration, and man is his representative or vicegerent, trying to duplicate in some small measure of this perfect ideal. As such, man's worship of God should be dynamic, consequential, and comprehensive in nature, which means that the worship of God as his up or his servant his servant should not be confined only to the act of worship, but also to understand the three very important role as being the vicegerent of God on earth, which we mentioned earlier on. Philosophically, it should be number one, the development of his personality in all dimensions, perfection of our personality and perfection of our life on earth. That is making ourselves good. So that is the most important role that we have to undertake as being the vicegerent of God on this earth. Number two, the development of a godly society in which human beings can live in love, justice, peace, and wisdom, to help others, that is to help others to be good. And number three, the understanding and an unraveling of the mysteries of nature for the establishment of our status, human being, as a vicegerent of God, and for comprehending the majesty and the glory of God, that is to make this physical good and in line with the glory of God. So if we understand this basic idea of being the Khalifah of Allah, we must understand these three basic role. And if we say that we are going to perfect ourselves or to make ourselves good, what is the idea of good? This is what I want you to reflect today, because goodness is integral to a peaceful, happy life. And we can understand goodness in many universal values, whether it is the Islamic values, whether it's the Christian values or Buddhist values, whether it is the humanistic values. We have the value of goodness that must be imbued and infused in each and every one of our human personality, persona. So what is important is, for Muslims, the 1.7 billion Muslims, we must now try to act as being the Khalifah of Allah and try to portray this goodness. And this is a very important role, because right now, the outside view of Islam, that means the non-Muslim view of Islam, is that we are not good. We have to accept that. And part of it is propaganda, but part of it is a reality. That means the Muslim Ummah now is not good. We have to accept that as we are as an Ummah, we are not good. So how are we going to become good and play our role of being the Khalifah of Allah on this earth? And this is something that we have to do. So this is the da'wah, this is the jihad, that is, we want to make ourselves good. And the whole idea is to develop this book, Positive Islamic Psychology, is to try to transform the mindset of the ummah so that we become a good ummah. The 1.7 billion Muslims will then be able to influence the non-Muslims, and then we can create a beautiful heaven on earth where we live in peace, happiness and success for all goodly creatures of earth, on this earth. So we Muslims must now internally reflect upon our weaknesses. Alright, so what are the weaknesses? I mean, there are many areas in which we have to look into. One is the weaknesses in terms of our way of life. Our way of life is not consonant with the ideal of Islam. So our way of life could be divided into two. One is those who are influenced by secular materialism. That means they live just like any typical non-Muslim. They are not bothered about religion. The other group would be their traditional Muslims, living in a very traditional way, but not involving themselves in the development of the ummah, nor the development of this dunya, this civilization. So both pathways are extremes. We have to bring an ummah wasatiyah, or an ummah that is central. An ummah that can balance the spiritual existence and the existence in this dunya. An ummah that can grow to help others to live in peace and happiness. So we must be living in peace and happiness first. So we put our own house in order. So inshallah, by infusing our younger generation, our children, before they go to school at preschool level, this idea of being Muslim, that we must live in peace with others, that we should avoid conflict, and that we should have love, mercy, and compassion. Those are values that is very important to transform the ummah. So long as we do not try to bring these good values into the mindset of the younger generation of the ummah, of the Muslims, we will not be able to develop a generation of achievers within the ummah. And if we fail to do that, we will be then known as a failed ummah, and this is very sad. So what is important is jihad, this post-Islamic psychology, jihad, and the Khalifah method that we are trying to propound, to try to teach to those preschoolers and set up centers, as well as post-Islamic psychology practitioners, so that we can all do our best, inshallah, by making ourselves good first, helping others to be good, and making the world good as a true and sincere servant of Allah, as His Khalifah on this earth. Inshallah, we shall succeed with the grace and mercy of Allah. See you in the next episode. Thank you.